Hey,
What's
Chris.
going on, Pat?
Hey, we're back here to talk about the Penn State controversy, and along with it now, we're starting to hear controversial information coming out of the Syracuse University athletic program with Coach Fine of basketball, and we're talking about Coach Sandusky of the former coaches, former Coach Sandusky with Penn State. What's your thoughts on this, Chris? Originally 9 victims. Now we've got 10 more victims coming out of Penn State. Many of those victims are African Americans. Why isn't that being talked about as much?
Well, I haven't seen proof that they're African American yet. There's speculation. I don't know if you've seen. I'm just going by.
Dr. Erlafari Hutchinson wrote about.
Okay. See, I've written I've checked out Dr. Boyce. Well, I've done my own research. I did a couple of columns on it, but I have not seen. But I haven't read Erlafari Hutchinson's column yet.
Right.
And even, like I said, it really doesn't matter what color they are in the scheme of things because it's still a horrible thing.
Yes.
But if they were black, it kind of tells you if there were any black victims in there. That kind of explains in part why there was such a veil of secrecy for so many years regarding it.
And obviously, Joe Paterno, the administrators and possibly boosters of Penn State did everything in their power to cover this up because they were trying to protect the brand name of Penn State. And the football program alone, just in generated ticket sales, was way over $100 million per season. And because of that, the brand name of Penn State had to be protected at all costs, making Joe Paterno just as guilty as the perpetrator to allow these things to happen if he had knowledge or any type of suspicion that one of the members of his coaching staff was raping and defiling the lives of young males, no matter what color they are. This is an act that ranks alongside of Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah, what seems to be going on here, it could have been stopped a long time ago. I think it was the assistant coach, Mike McQuarrie, redheaded guy.
Yes.
Well, even before then, Sandusky was caught a couple of years before then by a janitor named Calhoun. I forget his first name, but Calhoun is retired and he is in a mental institution with dementia.
Yes.
So he wouldn't make a credible witness, but he's the first one to catch them, and he reported it to his immediate supervisor. But it didn't go any farther than the Penn State staff or whatever the case may be. Then McQuarrie caught him in the locker room also with the young boy. Now, McQuarrie first says, well, he reported it to his father. Then they went to Joe Paterno the next day. Paterno reports it to the athletic director, maybe the vice president or whatever, and that's as far as it got. Missing in this whole equation within all these people, from Calhoun to Paterno, is the police, the authorities.
Right.
Okay.
Was there a report made to the police?
It took some time for a legal report to be made. I think in 2002, there was a report made, and there was an attempt to prosecute Sandusky. But the DA of that county, Center County in Pennsylvania, which is right near, which encompasses State College, Pennsylvania, and all that whole area, he backed down. He backed down. What they're trying to say now, because shortly after that, he came up missing. A couple of years later, he came up missing.
What happened to the DA that came up? That's the DA that came up missing. Okay.
Now that DA, he may or may not have been missing because of that case specifically. It's not clear yet. But understand also, he was in the middle of a case where he was exposing some heroin dealers, some really big-time heroin dealers who were flooding the area as well. And the DA, the assistant DA before him, came up missing. And I think he was found dead due to the heroin. I guess they blamed that on the heroin involvement. When these names behind this heroin plot are very important, big names. But it's just coincidentally that he was about to come up with this. He's trying to prosecute Sandusky, and he backs down. But now his family says, "Oh, he was going to do this with Sandusky because he was trouble." But on the record, he didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he kind of felt like, well, that's not. He basically just he said there's not enough evidence.
Right.
So when you say there's not enough evidence, because really, if you're a DA, the power's on you. Power's with you.
Right.
To prosecute, you can then you pick the grand jury.
Right.
You get everybody. The whole sphere of influence leans in your favor, so that you have that power. If you really want to prosecute somebody, you can do it. Especially in a case like this. This is a no-brainer.
Right.
So, what really happened was this guy dropped the ball, and sometimes later, they did not find him, but they found his laptop in some sort of ravine or not ocean, but lake or something like that. And his car was abandoned.
Okay.
Nearby.
All right.
They did not find the body. Nobody has been found. He's been declared legally dead by his family.
Dead.
Presumed dead legally as of last August, I think.
This thing stinks to high heaven, Chris.
Oh, it's deep. It's deep.
Where do you think Joe Paterno sits with this?
Well, you know, Joe Paterno, like several other people, was in a spot where he could have made a difference, but he didn't do it.
Right.
Everybody, I think everybody involved in this felt that I'm just going to tell the people in Penn State, and that's it. Joe Paterno really de facto is the most powerful man at Penn State.
Right.
He's outlasted every official, president, vice president, athletic director. You know, they look up to him.
46 years.
Right. You know, Joe Paterno took over that school back when 1966. I was in 6th grade and I was in second grade in 1966.
Yes.
That was his first year as a head coach of that school. Okay. He started before I was born.
Right. Before
he was born. So what's going on with Paterno is he could have done something and he chose not to.
Chose not to.
There's no way you can get around it. And these kids out there in Penn State rioting and smashing vehicles and smashing windows, you need to get a life.
Right.
Okay? Because first of all, you really don't deserve to be going to any games for the rest of the year. Penn State, the program should have shut down.
Should be shut down totally.
The whole
athletic program should be shut down. They should be given the NCAA death penalty.
Yes.
Why hasn't the NCAA dealt with this subject? I mean, why not? I mean, they were talking Ohio State. They wanted to shut down Ohio State because some players were selling their own memorabilia.
Right. Yeah, that's it. And I really, which I have no problem with, because there was that rule was never previously broken. So there was really no rule against that at that time.
Right.
So they were just player hating on Ohio State players.
But they were threatening the death penalty.
Yeah, they were threatening
Penn State, they haven't threatened anything.
No, they haven't threatened
anything. We're talking about young black or white males, Latino males, underprivileged males. Doesn't make any difference.
Yeah.
They were being raped and sodomized by a freak of nature.
And people lost their lives in the room. And lost their lives. Another reason this DA, Greiker is his name, I'm trying to, if I remember correctly, his wife, his then wife at the time, was living with him on State College campus. They were both living on property owned by the State College.
Yeah. State
College, Pennsylvania. Penn State owns all that.
Yes.
She, I understand, was employed there at one time. She was working there during the time of his investigation of Sandusky. Okay? So understand the conflict of interest.
Right.
And that leads to my next point. It's all about conflict of interest. The woman, the female judge who let Sandusky off without a bail, without a significant bail, is also a contributor to his program, the Second Chance Foundation, or something like that. The Second Something Foundation. It's supposedly a nonprofit that he set up as a front, really, to as an avenue to make it easier for himself to abuse young boys. You know, so it's all a conflict of interest. It's all a big cover up. A lot of people could have done something about it, but chose not to. So these fans, they want to riot over something. That's what you riot over.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what you should be tearing at school. You should be banging on doors, demanding answers. If you kids are in higher education, and you want to take a stand on things, that's where you start.
Yeah, I agree. I think that there's some blind reality involved here, Chris. There's obviously a massive cover-up from top to bottom of not only the athletic department, but the entire university. Yeah. They schemed around how to cover this up. And obviously Sandusky was asked to leave. He did not retire because he had gotten old. He was a major component. He was a 22-year veteran of that football program.
Right.
He was asked to leave because they had knowledge of his activity, and they tried to cover up his activity.
And you notice he didn't seek to get work anywhere else. Work for any school, because he knew that record would become exposed.
Oh yeah.
And most other schools would not put up with that.
Now, what are your thoughts on him going on national television and absolutely denying this with Bob Costas?
I expected the denial. It's his explanations which are incredibly stupid. Okay, that he's trying to make us believe. Yeah, okay, yeah, I admit that I took showers with these boys and blah blah blah. And I might even touched them, but it was just horseplay.
Right.
It was not. No, you can't have one without the other.
You cannot.
You know, that's like saying, okay, yeah, I admit that I grabbed a woman and slammed her against the wall, and I may have slapped her a couple of times, and pulled down her panties, but I didn't rape her.
Right.
Okay, all right. I was born yesterday. All right. It's the same thing. You know what? You know, and it's almost harkens back to if I can bring up Michael Jackson's illustration when he told that guy from 60 Minutes. What's his name?
Oh, Bashir.
Bashir? He told Bashir this, and he told 60 Minutes this. That he admitted to sleeping in bed with the kids.
Right.
And they question him. They say, well, listen, this just don't you think that just sounds bad? Okay, don't you think? And he's like, no, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
You know? So, but Sandusky doesn't understand. It just sounds bad.
Yes.
Okay, but he's got more. He's got a whole string of witnesses, and they're coming forward, and he gives you that explanation. He's really digging him.
Yeah.
He's digging his own
a big hole.
Yeah, he's digging a huge hole for himself. So I don't think any attorney can get him off. If any jury or judge has any common sense at all, I don't care where they're going to be, state college, whatever. I don't care.
You know, I've said this before, Chris, that pedophiles target trust institutions.
Yeah.
The church, athletic programs, where trust is a first part of what a parent would think before they enroll their child in that program. There's like a first level of trust when you're talking about the church and various mentoring programs and athletic programs. And that's what pedophiles target. And I hope that those out there that have the opportunity to re-look at what they're doing and watch what they're doing with their children would do so.
Well, you know, I'm glad you said that, because I used that statement you made last week on your radio show as your introduction to my last column on Sandusky, because it was such a brilliant statement. It is true, and you think about it, it's true. Pedophiles target institutions that are built on trust. Right. Okay, and because it's a mockery. They know what they're doing. Absolutely. Okay, they know. Yeah, people trust that this, and they got that. You have to have a certain amount of game first of all, to get in that institution, and then develop a process where you do what you do and succeed. Yes. That's very perverted. Yes. Indeed. So, Sandusky deserves to hang. I'm sorry. Yeah.
This is a very sick person.
Yes.
Very sick person. Well, that's all for us here on the network today. We have talked about Penn State, and we didn't get much into Syracuse as that situation begins to unfold, but we'll be back talking about this subject again right here on the network. I'm Pat Freeman. This is my buddy Chris Stevenson. Thanks a lot, Chris. We'll see us again next week on various subjects.
Thank you, Patrick. You all have a good week.
Good week from the network. We'll see you next week on the network.
clbTV.
Mm.